welcome to the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 reviews up this week. The first of which is a game called Galactic Bulwark Strike. Right, so I previously described this game as a ball breaker game without the blocks. And that still remains true, because if you're watching the footage here, you can see it's got the paddle, it's got the ball, it's missing the blocks. This is mainly about killing various enemies. Chief among them, the Bulwarks. Those are the 3 bosses you will encounter in the game. That's where that comes from. And the Galactic, well, obviously you're in space. And Strike, well, you're using a ball. So it's all there in terms of the title. And let me see. So this is a curious game, even outside of not having any bricks to bounce on, because we've got some extra physics being applied to this game. That is to say, velocity and weight are things. Like, you'll note the paddle here, it's not saying straight, it's shifting from side to side. It's taking into account inertia and the mass of the thing, which is, once again, unusual for ball bouncer. Seriously, what is this genre called?
I usually hear breakout clone or something like that. Breakout.
That's what I've always heard too.
Anyway, so a lot of those games, even the really early ones, at least kind of pretended to have physics based on like what part of the paddle you hit. But
well, that's the overall speed of the ball itself. I mean, and that remains true here. Like, you're not, like, unlike the last one of these we reviewed, Beautiful Bricks, which actually had physics applied to the ball, more Newtonian physics there. Here it's the paddle. The ball still bounces at a regular speed and angles, at a consistent rate. You don't have to worry about the effects of gravity on the ball. That being said, other things that this game is doing differently is in the weaponry. It's got some traditional lasers. That's like one of the power-ups. It's got 9, and there's some interesting ones and tricky ones to use, like the wall cannons. These are cannons that only fire, when the ball bounces off the wall. Or the, I think it's called the Kinetic Gun. It's a really powerful laser that shoots out, but only when it bounces off the paddle.
I think that's light beam, because Kinetic Gun is when you move.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, you got the dual cannons, the ultra. Some of these are paddle-based. Some of these are ball-based, like the electric ball. That's lightning that shoots out of the ball itself. And these and all of these weapons can be powered up to level 3, and you do that by getting experience in the game. And as far as the game itself, well, there's not much to it, truth be told. You run through the levels here. I suppose another thing to keep note of is the arena itself. You've got the walls here, and the ball can bounce off of that, but the paddle can actually go through. And that's something you're going to want to take into account, because you might be following the ball and you go past that line and the ball's going to bounce the other way. This has happened to me on a few occasions. See, it just happened there, right there to Petty. And see, trying to remember how long the stages go for.
They're not too long, like a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's like, well, the way it works is you kill the enemies and then you open up a portal, and that happens a few times, and then you get to the boss, and then you fight the boss, and then it goes on for another 2 segments. And only as far as I got, was the second boss. that was hard enough to get a grip on this game. Because, well, even the game, even the Steam page itself touts that it's good in short bursts optimally. As far as modes go, see, not a whole lot. There's a daily challenge mode, which is like the namesake says, try to get the highest score in one run. Yeah. Oh yeah, and there are also artifacts, I think they called them.
Yeah.
Which allow for things like the, every ball appearing every 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Which can be handy.
Though it looks like the balls don't have collision with each other, which that's good.
Yeah.
Because I don't even want to try and math that in my head.
Honestly, that's pretty standard. Like, having a multi-ball power-up is pretty standard in these affairs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another thing about the ball itself is it's fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's about the size of, say, maybe 4 Arkanoid balls or something like that. Like, and, I think that's a reflection of, also you get cursed artifacts on the right over here. Like, which will give you a great power, but at a great cost. It's like, you can do more damage, but you lose all your health except for 1 heart. And yeah, your lives are represented by hearts. You can see that as HP, but it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the others. And the music is the expected. It's all techno beats. It's fine. Like, not something I really would have gotten rushed out to buy independently, but it works in the confines of the game. Yeah, and I think this game could have used a couple more modes, like maybe a time trial.
Well, they do have a thing called Daily Run, which I guess is the daily score attack thing.
Yeah, that's about the closest, but that's not a time attack. A time attack is going through as fast as possible. I'm sure a few other modes could have been cooked up because, the game is pretty thin in terms of that kind of content. But once again, that's kind of the point here. This is one of those games where we would categorize, it's fun for about 15 to 30 minutes. And unlike some other games, it's a game that expects you to be playing for about that amount of time. There's also a leaderboard, so, if you care about that kind of thing, it's there. And yeah, let's see, pricing. So the game clocks in at $2.99, and that's all you get here. No DLC, no soundtrack, just the game itself. $3, perfectly acceptable price. Honestly, this probably could have gone a few bucks more, and it'd still be worth it. But $3 is an easy recommendation. And as far as the game itself, it's pretty solid. And I like that it has some fresh ideas for the ball bouncer genre, the breakout genre, whatever you want to call this. And still, not every game needs to be a grand epic. Even within the genre. So this game is doing a few things differently. Now, I suppose that could put some people off who really like the brick breaking part of Arkanoid versus like the destroying of enemies in Arkanoid, which, to be fair, the brick breaking was the main point of Arkanoid outside of like the boss dough. But point of the matter is, this is something that's, is relatively fresh in this, very traditional genre. Like, I think we mentioned it during the Brick Breaker interview and the review itself. Like, there are not a lot of these kind of games in this day and age. So to see one come along and to see one that has some new ideas is definitely something to be treasured, even if it runs a bit short otherwise. Any thoughts from you, Petty, since you've been playing the game?
I think it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Not a whole lot to say, really.
Yeah, it's one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, not every game gets an hour to be talked about, and so on and so forth. But still, this is a perfectly cromulent game for a perfectly cromulent price. So I'm not sure if there's like any mobile versions or Switch versions, but as far as the PC, it works well enough. Like, it also works with a controller. Like, if you want to play one of these with a controller, it's like never my recommendation there, since granted, the way that the paddle controls makes it a bit more controller friendly, because because you have to take into account some actual physics. It's not just you move the mouse and it's going to zip over to the other to the place you want. Radio dial. It actually works, decently with a controller, which is once again not something I can say with your usual brick breaker. Anyway, so that'll about do it for Galactic Bulwark Strike. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing Little Big Workshop.